Well, it continues to be a dominant topic both in Iowa and national politics, and that's the matter of when will Mike Huckabee run, if he will run at all, and what's the timetable for that announcement. Now, Mike has left his options open. He keeps saying he'll decide sometime in June. He really hasn't done anything on the ground in Iowa, really, to indicate he's going to run for president, although some of his supporters in Iowa are doing some of that work for him. But he is beginning to do some things nationally that makes you think he's going to run. The statement he gave about the death of Osama bin Laden, where he used the phrase rot in hell, that seems to indicate a guy that's thinking about running for president. On top of that, he gave a recent speech to the National Rifle Association convention. He's now slated to talk to the Republican Leadership Conference. And I think these are the kinds of speaking engagements, by the way, they're going to have a huge impact on Mike Huckabee's timetable. Because if I'm running any of these other candidates' campaigns, whether it's Mitt Romney or Tim Pawlenty or Michelle Bachmann, Ron Paul, et al., I'm going to sit there and probably make a few phone calls to the Roger Aileses and Rupert Murdochs of the world, and I'm going to ask them, hey, do you really think it's fair that a guy who's out there making major policy speeches in front of groups that typically invite men running for president to speak to their groups this time of year, do you think it's really fair for him to be doing that as an undeclared candidate with unfettered access to your network that's the most watched network by conservatives in America? And I think over the course of time, Fox News is going to start to get a little uncomfortable with that. Now, I don't say this based on any inside knowledge. This is just my analysis. And I definitely foresee a scenario where in the next 30 days or so, Mike Huckabee is poised, or at least forced, to make a decision one way or the other if he hasn't made up his own mind. Now, let's say we get into the 1st of June. He takes that Alaska cruise, middle of June, comes back from that cruise, says, you know what, I've had plenty of time to think about this, mull this whole thing over, and I'm going to form an exploratory committee for president. He's kept to his timetable. Now, here's the other thing this does. If you look at the Family Leaders Presidential Lecture Series, right now, Herman Cain is scheduled to speak in June, and then you have Newt Gingrich scheduled to speak in July. Well, right now, they don't have anybody scheduled to speak in August. Maybe August 1st, August 8th. Those are the first 2 Mondays, I believe, in August, especially that August 8th date. You know, if you're a Mike Huckabee and you're worried that you got in late, you know, I don't want to underperform in the straw poll. On the other hand, if I've got an exploratory committee that I've announced in late June, early July, I've got to play in the straw poll. Otherwise, that looks like a sign of weakness, especially with that Fox News debate there with the Republican Party of Iowa. I've got to be a part of that. Well, what an interesting coincidence that you've got an open date there for the Family Leaders statewide presidential lecture series that could potentially happen the Monday before the Iowa straw poll, giving you a lot of great chances for earned media. Can you imagine the amount of media that would show up for Mike Huckabee's presidential lecture series right before the Iowa straw poll? So, in a way, some things could end up working out positively for Mike Huckabee's delay in his announcement. Now, I still think he faces an uphill battle putting an organization together, and a lot of the people that used to work for him or that probably would be interested in working for him this go-around are committed to other people. But that kind of exposure in a short amount of time certainly creates a lot of buzz, and for a candidate with very high name ID, I could foresee that that could very well end up being the timetable for Mike Huckabee to enter the 2012 Iowa caucuses. Thanks for joining us here today at stevedeace.com. You can email me if you ever have a topic you want us to address or you have any questions, comments, or insults. Steve@stevedeace.com. Follow me at Stephen Deace on Facebook or Steve_Deace on Twitter. God bless.